Okay, so we are the group doing the 4v4 positional RPG. I am Adam, and with me virtually are Noah, Daniel, and Sydney. A reminder of the project. This is a video game where two teams of four fight it out, with the poor people in the front taking all the damage, and their corpses magically forcing their still living allies in front of them, like inverse meat shields. This game contains unorthodox but still somehow slightly predictable humor.
So to begin with the game, the base of everything is, of course, the core code in the back, the core gameplay. Now, the base gameplay, thankfully, has not had to been changed much since I did spend all of fall semester working on it due to the limitations I had on what I would be able to contribute in spring. And thankfully, the inheritance that I built in with the attacks, classes, monsters, spells, as well as other various coding features that I built in to allow it to expand, have helped it to make it so that it has been sufficient. Now, we're going to be moving on to a demo to show you the basics of the code of what we have for now. Okay. Now, to begin with, you'll begin by hearing the sound in the background. There is a small sample of our background sound, but we have it turned down low for the purposes of the demo. If you notice in the dead center, you'll see that there's a little red guy moving around. That is our current character token at the moment. We're going to start by going up and go to the town. That is the blue box in the top left. Now, when you enter in here, you can move around a little bit, and you'll see that there's walls and buildings and stuff. This is just an example of showing how you can transition from maps to map, and that you can build on to make towns and such. Each one of those little buildings, for example, was meant to be something we might add, such as your stop and save point or a market where you would buy things. But at the moment, it's purely for demo purposes, so let's go ahead and leave the town. Now, when you pop out of the town, you pop out on those red dots. Those are your spawn points. Now, he's back in the main field, and while he's in the green, he's safe. But if he moves down into the red haze, he moves into our random encounter area. And as you can see, it doesn't take long for monsters to find you. The important thing about this one that you need to look at is while they are just boxes with colors, they are actually different bad guys. If you look on the right, there is an initiative order that was determined pre-combat to see who went first. Looks like, thankfully, our team mostly goes first, although an enemy archer and an enemy mage beat them to it, and they've already attacked. But again, we're not going to be doing much in here. This is just a basic example to show you that we can get into random combat. So we'll go ahead and step out of this and restart the demo back up so that we can move you into the second feature of the game, which is the large white box on the left. This is our tournament mode. Now, here in the tournament, you start off by facing groups of bad guys, and they're grouped together in special scenarios to make them like levels. This first one is what we call our slime level. We're dealing with 4 slimes. The first thing I want to point out is you notice that each one of the slimes has a health bar on top of them. It doesn't tell you exactly how many hit points they have, but the blue is how much damage they've taken, and the red is how much they have left. For the purpose of this demo, we have toned them way down to make them quick and easy to kill, so it is not a long combat. Okay, now if you also look at the main characters, the knight, the person in the back row left, actually has a little box above his head. That lets you know that he's the guy who's acting right now. So let's start by doing one of his normal attacks. And let's have him just shield bash one of the slimes. Now, before we attack, shield bash the slime. Now, as soon as he hits it, he goes, and his attack is written at top. You'll notice knight shield bash slime for 5 damage. And then it looks like the slimes all went and did their attacks, or at least most of them did. Now we're moving on, and it is the art. And when they did attacks, each one of our main characters took damage. You'll notice they have life bars on the bottom right, and they work along the same concept. Red is how much life you have left. In this case, black or void is how much damage you've taken. There is also a number next to each one of the characters that keeps a running total of their actual hit points, so you can see the difference. Now, for the archer, let's show you a special attack. He has a unique attack called Pierce. So if he clicks that, now this actually is showing you where he's going to line up. The Pierce attack shoots through multiple enemies. So we'll go ahead and target Slime 2. And he will actually attack everybody in that back row there. If you read the attacker there, it says he attacked Slime 2's column of enemies for 5 damage, but he missed the second slime. So he missed the first slime, but he hit the one in the back. And you'll notice that the one's back hit points actually went down a little. We're going to move on more to the Barbarian. Her special attack is my favorite. She has Rage. And when you activate Rage, the Barbarian, we lose control of her. She is now, for all intents and purposes, controlled by the computer. She will attack with greater strength and power against enemies as soon as we give her a chance. Let's switch the Meg up. His special attack is another good one, Fireball. It automatically attacks everybody. So as soon as it is clicked, everyone will take damage. And as you see there, it did some damage. Slime with no name is dead. Slime 4 is dead. And you'll notice when that happened, the slime that was right there moved from the front row to the back row all by himself. Moving on, we'll go ahead and have the knight do one of his special attacks. Let's have him do heal all, because he can actually heal his allies. And if you see over there, all of his allies got a serious healing boost. Now we're going to have the archer. He's the only one that's going to go before I have a feeling the barbarian's going to finish it off. So let's do another one of his normal attacks. And let's just do his regular Archie, which is just a ranged attack against any slime of his choice. Oh, but see, then the barbarian stepped up. You didn't get to see it because it changed screen fast, and we haven't figured out winning screens yet. But you'll notice the barbarian actually took out 2 bad guys in one swing, another one of her special attacks. But that right there gives you the basics of the combat, and you see how you get through a fight, you win, and you move on to the next level. That would be... We'll go ahead and go back to our presentation.
Okay, now in terms of UI and background, we currently have only solidified what the menus will look like with a few potential tweaks, such as there's a tiny little imperfection on the side of the scroll menu. Backgrounds have not actually been touched upon all that much, but an overhaul for them is scheduled in the coming weeks if there is not too much classwork present at this time. For sure, one additional background will be added to the game, and it will be the final boss zone. Implementation of the background designs has not currently gone into effect as seen in the demo. An additional hub design will be made before the overhaul of the base background designs so that the world in general looks better. And at minimum, the desired goal of the UI and background design is to have the menus, base backgrounds, and hub world design implemented before the demo is released. These new menus were able to actually be completed in a nicer looking fashion because of a software called GIMP, which has a convenient tool called brushes that just lets you add texture to things. Such as, for example, on the right side menu, the whole kind of texture to the paper was entirely possible because of the brushes. And this would have taken an excessive amount of work otherwise to complete with just a standard pixel by pixel color editor. Moving on.
Okay, so for the graphics, we weren't able to do the cutout scenes like we wanted. So what we plan to do is in between different battles in a story mode to have different cutout scenes to help relay the points of the story, and so you can like get a better feel for it and whatnot. But what we have done since last time is got the basic animations for the characters. They haven't been implemented yet. That's one of the next steps is get them implemented. These are only for the main characters so far, but as you can see on the right is the archer shooting. The left is the images that we had to create to make it appear as if he's shooting. And so what we have to do, so that's what we got so far. And if you see the knight is actually doing his shield basher attack. So that's another basic animation we've done. And you can see the sprite sheet we used to build that. But what the next things we need to do is make a flinch animation. So that way you can tell which of the enemies was hit. And also we need to make it so you can tell which enemies has died by making a death animation, like with X'd out eyes or something probably along those lines. So you can actually tell that you've killed an enemy a little bit easier. And also we need to have a basic villain attack animation besides them just coming forward. You need to be able to actually tell where, like which enemy is attacking and what type of attack so you can plan ahead.
Yep. So as far as sounds go, in addition to the sound effects that were created for the last status update, I've created most of the background tracks through this fairly convenient program known as LMMS. It's a little hard to learn, but once you know what you're doing, it's very easy to use. The integration of the sound effects is in progress, and as you heard during the demo, we do have one of the sound effects in the game already, but it was turned very low. Here's a single loop around it so you can actually hear it a little better. This is just the overworld theme. So as far as lessons learned and or roadblocks encountered since the last status update, composing music that sounds good is by no means easy. I could subject you to my first attempt to make a boss theme, but I'm pretty sure my teammates would hurt me for that.
And creating meaningful designs for sprites and backgrounds is way more excessively difficult than you'd first believe at just by looking at it. For example, the menus I made took like about over an hour each to complete, and even then I am not happy with them. There is a lot more I wish I could do, but there is so much limits to what I can do, and Sydney probably knows a lot more about how the sprites can be held.
Yeah, the sprites take quite a while to animate, especially since I made them so complex. I made it harder myself because I was enjoying making them look cool more than thinking ahead of how long it's going to take to animate them. The more complex they are, the harder they are to animate. So there's a lot of things I could animate, like every single attack I can make it look different and whatever, but that's going to take a ridiculous amount of time. So probably will not happen.
The one issue that I run into is the core gameplay. Well, as I said, I built in the base inheritance that did work for what everything we wanted to do so far. It could have been designed better with more helper functions to allow more adaptability in the way the combat control is. Because for right now, for example, it's based off characters' physical locations on the 3D grid that the map uses, rather than maybe a helper function that could give a true-false result, so you could give multiple, meaningful use to that, so that you could move bad guys around and have them still be easily targetable, for example.
So as far as progress and confidence goes, our confidence that we will have a working product is incredibly high, seeing as we already do. Our confidence that it will end up enjoyable is only middling, as we have had to cut some of the features that would make it better, such as cutscenes, due to time constraints. Of course, this whole virus issue has not been helping things, as it has led to greater difficulty coordinating meetings, as we can't actually meet in person anymore. Due to the combination of the extended break and this pseudo quarantine, leaving people staying within the same few rooms all day, every day, makes it rather difficult to find motivation, and I'm reasonably certain we aren't alone in that. And we've also had communications issues due to the fact that if you're using the mobile versions of Discord, it's not exactly optimal when it comes to sending notifications.
And most importantly, I specifically have lost pretty much all total access to the code itself. We use GitHub to store our code and activate it. Due to the fact that I'm a non-traditional student working on a 14-year-old laptop, it does not connect with GitHub, so I cannot do cooperative code adjustments. So at this point, in order to do code adjustments, we almost have to do a screen share like this, and I have to walk somebody through what they need to do. So it has severely restricted what I can do to participate in the code or any real projects at this point, other than as idea man.
Kind of stacking on top of the motivation thing is the fact that that extended break took away a week of time that we would have felt more comfortable doing if there were classes online. But since it was listed as a break at the time, there's honestly no reason to do work during then because you feel like it's a break.
Yep, instead of losing 1 week because of spring break, we lost 2 weeks. And it's really hard to get back into the groove of working on a project when you're still stuck at home and it's been a couple weeks. Feels more like summer vacation than actual school.
And some of the classes have been condensed, making us have less free time.
Yeah, that was 14 and a half minutes. Oh, you're still recording.